Happy Friday, troublemakers. It's July 22nd. We're feeling good. It's been a really productive week so far. Today we're talking about Amazon doctors, the return of the rebate, and ditching the steering wheel and the brake pedal and the gas pedal. And
everywhere I go, just the people really want to know.
Who needs all that, though?
You don't, you don't need those things.
You don't need all that.
You don't need those things anymore.
You know what shocks me about today's episode? If you're a show notes reader, which like apparently about 1% of all podcast listeners are, so we thank you to the 1%.
Maybe we can get that to 2%. Check out the show notes
just
today. We actually put time and energy into them. You could actually just read them.
Exactly, because they are dynamic. They are filled with information. There's no way we're going to be able to read 100% of the things that we put in the show notes. And not just that, but in the second story that I can't wait to get to, it's like Rusty West. You'll learn who Rusty West. He had like 8 grenades in his pocket right here. And it was like,
he's been saving them for somebody to just ask him the question.
He was like, chink, chink. And just
it's like going. It's like when you ask somebody the question and then just like it all comes out, right? You're like,
oh, you've been saving that. I see what you mean.
That's been in there for a minute, right? Oh man, we have a few things to talk about first before we get into the news. Our new podcast with Michael Cirillo, Auto Collabs, is live, episode 00. It's a full-length episode. You can search your favorite podcast platform, Auto Collabs, COLLABS, and we had an insane time doing episode 00, and we have dozens of interviews coming your way with perspectives you haven't heard, some insightful thoughts, and just some amazing guests in this industry. So check that out. If you haven't subscribed, we're going to start releasing episodes, I think, next week, and there's going to be a lot of them. So there's going to be something for everybody.
Yes.
Hey, do we want to talk about some ASOTUCon speakers we haven't talked about? Have we read a list? We don't have a list ready.
The list
we have 70 plus. Let's just put it that way. I don't know if we talked about, here's one we could talk about. Oh, we don't have a picture. Who here knows the name Jason Stein?
Ooh, there's a good one.
If you know the name Jason Stein, if you've been in the industry for a minute, you know that Jason Stein was the publisher of Automotive News, went off. Now he's leading Motor Minds, has his own amazing podcast. And he's going to be at ASOTUCon. He's going to be hosting some panels. He's going to be there to talk. And just one of the smartest people in the industry. I had the opportunity to meet him at an auto news conference when he was in charge, and I pulled him aside. He graciously gave me a few minutes before he knew who even I was, and it was awesome. And I asked him, I said, what do you think is the biggest opportunity for the automotive industry to advance in? And this was like 5 years ago. He goes, to be seen as a technology industry. There he is. We got a speaker slide up. That's well done. There you go. You probably recognize the face and the baby blues. And he said, people need to see automotive as a technology industry. And that was like 5 years ago. And he was right on the dang money.
You know what's crazy? I had a call, just a little 20-minute call with a VC firm out of California on Wednesday. They randomly reached out because of profile and all this type of stuff. And they were like, you know what we've really realized over the past 24 months is that the technology landscape in automotive is extremely attractive. They've never invested in automotive before, but they are seeing like
Jeez, that's
so exciting. What he said 5 years ago, these VC companies and pre-seed companies are really looking at auto going, yep, the technology landscape there is where we want to be. So
we're going to try to dig up that clip. That clip is somewhere on social media, somewhere years ago. We're going to try to find that.
Hey, I'm going to give you another one. So for a lot of people, especially on LinkedIn, Facebook, even, they've been watching the rise of this guy named Duran Cage. And Duran has, over the past year and a half, become a close friend of mine. And he is one that is always ready and willing to not just like say the hard things, but speak his mind. But he does it with like an intelligence and empathy and care.
Oh, yeah.
You know, for especially across like the sales process and the way that we engage customers. And so I'm excited to have him in one of our fireside chats. He's going to be coming. I'm sure his wife will be there, which if you know Duran, everyone's like, yo, I love you, but I'm going to chat with your wife.
Paige is sizzle, man. You get Paige in the room, you're like, oh, I see why actually everybody comes in this direction because she's awesome. And Duran Cage, I've labeled him the Denzel of the automotive industry. And if we flash his picture, or you see this post later on social media, you'll understand exactly why. Look, get your tickets to ASOTUCon so you can meet all these amazing people in person. That's the cool thing about Auto Collabs is everyone we're interviewing is actually also going to be at ASOTU Con. So you're going to fall in love with them there. You can come hang out with them at ASOTU Con. We still have tickets. Get them at ASOTUCon.com, and you'll see a list of a portion of the speakers, but we have a lot to go. Right after this live stream, we are heading into David Long's All Things Used Cars room, powered by ASOTU. And we have DJ Smokey Smoke, aka most of you know him as Jonathan Smoke, chief economist at Cox Automotive. He visits us about once a month, and he's going to talk about the recent economic report. And man, that man just spills insights when he shows up. And they're going to be like 150 other dealers and people.
Without a doubt, yeah.
So check that out.
Super excited for that conversation.
Always.
So if you listen to this after, you should finish this podcast and then roll straight to listening to that on Clubhouse. We link it in our emails and all that stuff. So make sure you find those insights. And
if you're hearing this later, you can check the replay too and listen at 1.5 speed. All right, let's talk about some news. Who is ready to go to an Amazon-owned doctor? You know, they're one step closer. With this move, Amazon is getting deeper into medical care, announcing their merger with One Medical, which is a subscription-based medical, like primary care physician service, $3.9 billion, their largest deal ever. And all I can think about is how this moves Amazon one step closer to being B&L from the Disney movie WALL-E. Right?
I'm not even going to get a word in. Everything you're saying is like, whoosh, right?
I just imagine everybody sitting in these chairs in the future, right?
Right.
And Amazon just taking care of us, like feeding us smoothies.
And we're like, beep, beep, beep. And we order something and it gets there in 2.2 minutes instead of 2.2 days. And yeah, it's just going to be unbelievable. Here's what's interesting. Because, you know, obviously Amazon has gotten into a ton of different verticals, which is something actually a lot of the public doesn't even know when you actually look into what Amazon is doing behind the scenes, and a lot of like B2B relationships that B2C relationships don't even understand are happening on the back end. This is a big B2C relationship, so business to customer that they're exploring. And I think that the stat was something like this is a $4 trillion industry that accounts for 20% of the GDP of the US, right?
20,
and it's unbelievable how much this type of announcement like broadens the scope of their ability for profit. So I think that there's only one reason why they did it.
You got me with that one. Oh man. So One Medical, I went and looked at the site this morning and researching this article. I was like, man, this place sounds amazing. Like they really do seem to have addressed or at least understand the pain points in medical care. And you're talking about like a digital first experience with ability to book same and next day appointments, on-site labs. Like it seems you pay $199 a year, which seems way too cheap for something like this, but maybe it's like the Costco model. So they have, they operate currently in 19 markets, 100 plus physical locations across the country. Now, Amazon had healthcare initiatives with actually Berkshire Hathaway and JP Morgan Chase. They did some kind of collab in 2018. They disbanded it in 2021. I guess they couldn't get it to work. But Amazon already offers healthcare to 1.1 million people called Amazon employees, something called Amazon Care. So they bought I can't remember. I don't have it in the show notes. They bought like an online pharmacy, and then they like probably in this. So I think if you work for Amazon, they take care of your health too.
Yeah. They not just like provide you a health plan. They actually take care of your health.
They are the health plan.
They are the health plan, which is smart. It's literally like, I mean, reinsurance.
Smart for them.
Actually, you know, what's interesting is a lot of companies are moving to this like self-insurance, policy, just because it saves costs and is typically a little bit more efficient from an approval perspective. And so, you know, you think about large companies at this scale being able to do that. But I do think, you know, recognizing that's an opportunity for not just profit, but customer care. And here's the thing. I know I played the must be the money thing. And Amazon approaches customers with a certain level of care, but think about the data that is associated with.
Well, that's the big question, right? That's why the alarm bells are going off. A lot of One Medical customers taking their grievances to Twitter. I'll read a couple. Here's one. Amazon has spent the last 5 years methodically squandering the earned trust needed for customers to embrace an acquisition like this. This is disappointing on many axes. My cancellation request has been submitted to One Medical. Here's another one. I'm going to need an explainer, an explicit contract around what data Amazon will or will not have access to from One Medical. This feels like a big yikes from a privacy standpoint. Love One Medical, but I'm probably out.
Ooh.
So, hey, this is a whole different layer of data. It's like your most private information. And to think and believe, I doubt Amazon's going to use any of this information to drive commerce or build my profile out or suggest me anything. Like, I don't know if there's anybody that believes that. But look, the bottom line, if we can learn anything about the consumer, is like it's this constant trade-off of privacy for convenience, and pretty much convenience usually wins that one.
That's exactly right. And we start to learn how quickly, how little privacy we actually have.
No doubt. Bring us into the rebate story, Kyle. I know what you're saying. I'm like, Kyle, I don't want them to have access to my phone book. Kyle's like, they already do because everyone else gave them access, so they can reverse engineer it.
Bingo. Exactly. Well, this next story is, I think, like, for one, the person that was interviewed here and that leads the story. Well, we talked about the grenades thrown, but when you think about the access to the level of data that Market Scan, a company. So if you don't know the company Market Scan, they provide the majority of rebates, incentive, even like rates and terms. They provide the majority of that to the premier desking and digital retailing solutions in the country. It's essentially a race between them and AIS. So that's the CDK version of for not CDK, the Cox version, to get rebates and incentives and rates and programs into these softwares. So when you think about the access to data that they have, not just current, but historical data on how rebates and all of those things flow from the OEM to the dealer to the consumer, they know what's going on. So Rusty West kind of threw out some of these ideas around the potential and most likely return of not just the rebate, that's kind of the headline of this, but it's also the rebate. It's the inventory. It's the way that that manufacturers will press into wholesaling vehicles to dealers. And gosh, we're gonna have to read a couple of these quotes because I can't even explain how dialed in.
You can't summarize them and do them justice. Right? and so I like the way you just set up the validity of the opinion, right? Because a lot of people will pop off and say this is gonna happen, and this is gonna happen, and this is gonna happen. Rusty has access to incredible amounts of data. He's been a 35-year auto veteran. He talks about things happening in 7-year cycles, and every 7 years something crazy happens in automotive. And then he's like, I've seen 5 of these. Right. And I think he said they process like billions of transactions a day,
yes,
rates and delivering. All right. So setting it up that way. Go ahead, Kyle. I'll let you read some of these because I'm going to sip on this.
So here's
I'm going to sip on the troublemaker thing.
You're like, so here's like the lead quote that we put in here. And the reason being is because it sets up everything else. It says right now there's scant inventory, which we all know. Dealers are making more money than they know what to do with. And manufacturers are stoked because they don't have to offer rebates. Without a doubt. And he ends that with, but that will change. And I think that's been a question on a lot of dealers and industry partners' mind. Are we going to continue this low day supply, right? Agency model is on everyone's mind. Low day supply, high inventory turn, low access to any sort of rebates or incentives, high leasing money factors. And probably not. And so here's the next thing. First, manufacturers are sitting on millions of vehicles they can't deploy, referring to these partially built vehicles that can't get out there. When the microchip shortage ends, predictions on what that might occur may vary, and those vehicles are fully built. What will automakers do next is the question. And it says they don't have a choice because, and this is one thing that I didn't think about. is they're paying unions to build these vehicles, which these unions are saying we need our people in operation more often. So it's more complex than just what they want to do. There's multiple angles that are coming at how quickly we're going to get these vehicles put out into the inventory ecosystem. And just the fact that they're sitting on ground inventory right now that they just can't deliver to the dealer because of chip shortages is mind-boggling to me.
I think we need to start a new segment called Eloquent Quotes from Auto Folks, right? Eloquent Quotes from Auto Folks. And here's his response. Cue the music. We don't have it, but he says, I think they'll take a giant ramrod and shove them down dealers' throats.
That's cold-blooded.
That's Eloquent Quotes from Automotive Folks right there. He's like, look, Kyle, you and I are in calls with dealers all day long. And how many dealers have we talked to where we've brought up, yeah, I know, but this is like a new era of properly managed inventory supply. And everyone kind of looks at us and goes, come on, you don't really believe that,
like,
do you?
You've got to be kidding me. The minute these automakers, because automakers make money on wholesaling vehicles, right? They don't make money on the retail. And that's why they're missing out on, that's why they feel like they're missing out on so much of the retail profit right now. But the only way to get back profitably quickly without completely shifting their model is to drive more wholesaling, not more retailing. And so then they depend on the dealer for the retailing side. And so the only way to drive up profitability is to wholesale more cars to the dealer. What are they going to do?
You can go read the show notes. This is a great Ward's Auto article. The interview is fantastic. He says most of the OEMs are not building vehicles at the volume they need to find efficiencies at their facilities. But if you proceed on the assumption that eventually auto manufacturing will normalize and the industry gets everything it needs to build as many vehicles as it wants to build, then you have a free market environment again. So we want to know what you think about this. We know there are no shortage of opinions. You can go to crew, CREW at ASOTU.com. Let us know your thoughts, and I think we'll probably get a few, and we'll publish some of them, give you some credibility, give you a little microphone, and see if you can come up with your own eloquent quote from Automotive Folks.
Well, hey, look, Paul, speaking of shortages of items.
Stop. Segue.
Time. GM and Ford are actually asking litigation to be passed to literally not put things that you would expect to be put in a car. They're like,
please,
yeah, we haven't
please.
put things in cars anyways for 2 years. We're just going to rip out the gas pedal, the brake, the steering wheel too, and just, be done with those supply chain issues.
They're going to be on subscription now. No. So these three companies, they want to release about 2,500 vehicles for ride sharing and delivery services using their self-branded, autonomous technology. Ford wants to deploy self-driving ride hailing and package delivery, basically. And they say having active controls, right? Gas pedal, brake pedal, steering wheel, having active controls would introduce an unacceptable risk to safety, right? So they're like, hey, it's no driver in there. So if there's no driver that we put in there, we don't think anybody should have the ability to move that car. It just feels so weird, man. It feels so weird. But I get it.
This because now you have to fault the manufacturer or the operator of the vehicle if there's any issues that happen when that vehicle is being driven. I mean, I just cannot see a way these manufacturers have the level of insurance necessary to handle the amount of issues that might come into play when it comes to these vehicles, 2,500 vehicles coming across the line that are completely autonomous with no ability for intervention from a human.
It's right. Like, is there a kill switch? Like that? But even that's like, you think about a kill switch in a vehicle like that, like on the little red button underneath the thing. But you're like, even that, it's like, I don't know. There are smart people trying to figure this. What company delivers pizzas? Is it Domino's? They have that little pizza car.
Yeah, they have the little cart thingy. Yeah.
And that's a lot. It's smaller than a car, but I don't know. I mean, like, I feel like at Disney World and like in the Atlanta airport, like there are things you drive. I mean, Atlanta airport's on a track. Let's be honest. And there's no cross traffic.
No, not at all.
No. So, I mean, look, this is fun to talk about. I think it'll eventually come to pass, but we can't get, if If you ever been in a Tesla and like you get to a lane change or a merge, it gets a little dicey. If you ask me, it gets a little dicey. So I don't know. No steering wheel, no brake pedal. We'll see what happens. But hey, it's just the news. We just report the news. We don't make it. So all that being said, we're about to hop into the All Things Used Car Clubhouse room. We've had an amazing time with you this week. We're going to be in the internet. Follow us on LinkedIn. We got a lot of stuff going down there. And always send us emails, interact with us because we're always listening and watching, and we might just post your stuff.